I'm Jackie.
I'm Kyle, and we have...
Selective Attention. We love a good tradition.
Yes, the sharing and transmission of customs from one person or generation to another is something that we find both comforting and vital. Things like stabbing squash.
He means carving pumpkins.
Telling lies around burning pieces of the forest.
Telling campfire stories.
All of this is great, but we want to share one of our more arcane traditions with you.
There aren't a lot of Thanksgiving-themed movies out there, at least none that we want to watch year after year after year.
They take us far away. Let's stick together now. Let's find a way somehow to feel Thanksgiving every day.
Which is why a while back we decided to make our own tradition, and that is to watch a bunch of Kung Fu films during Thanksgiving to fill the Thanksgiving-themed movie void.
And because we find that the holidays are much easier to endure with a little bit of help, we were inspired to pair some cocktails with a few of our favorite Thanksgiving Kung Fu movies.
So here we go with
Kung Fu cocktails.
My first selection is 2008's Kung Fu Panda, which is a super comforting film for me. I have probably seen this film over 100 times, and that's not exaggerating. I would put it on every single night as I was falling asleep. And there's something about the storyline and the characters that just makes me feel all like happy-go-lucky. So I'm going to be pairing the secret ingredient cocktail with Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda is the story of Po, a panda, who is basically a fanboy for Kung Fu. And he just loves Kung Fu so much that he wants to go and live in the Jade Palace and be with the other Kung Fu masters, the Furious Five. And through series of events, he's actually named the Dragon Warrior and basically realizes that he is good enough and that he's good enough as he is and he doesn't have to change. And I think that's just a really comforting and sweet message. What is the secret ingredient to my secret ingredient cocktail? Come here. The secret ingredient to my secret ingredient cocktail is
Nothing. Huh?
You heard me. There is no secret ingredient in my secret ingredient cocktail. For something to be special,
You just have to believe it's special.
so essentially I'm going to be making a dark and stormy. It is a comfort cocktail to me, so I'm going to pair it with my comfort film. A dark and stormy is essentially a dark rum with ginger beer and maybe a splash of lime. I'm going to be doing things a little differently, and that's kind of why I like a dark and stormy. It can be a little different. It doesn't have to be exactly the same every single time you do it to be comforting and delicious. You're going to start with ice. You'll want 2 ounces of dark rum. Typically you use Gosling's rum. It was kind of hard for me to find Gosling's for some reason. Not sure why. So I'm using Gustoso. This is like an artisanal dark rum, so fancy. You want 2 ounces of that. And then I prefer cockable ginger beer, but once again I wasn't able to find any, so I'm going to be using Reed's. Open it. Open. So you'll want 4 ounces of ginger beer. I'm going to put the first 2 in here, and then I'm going to transfer that. And then we will add enough to fill the glass. And I actually was able to find some dragon fruit. And while this isn't typical of it at all, I figured it kind of fit with the Dragon Warrior theme of the cocktail. So I'm going to be adding a slice of dragon fruit and lime to the cocktail itself. It overflowed completely. So yeah, this is obviously doesn't fit everything, but I actually think it kind of tastes better with less ginger beer and more rum. It tastes pretty good. And it's actually kind of nice because you put some splash of lime in there, but I kind of just like smelling the lime as opposed to tasting it because it kind of overtakes or overwhelms the ginger beer. Yeah, this is good. And there you have it, the secret ingredient cocktail.
Yes, wardrobe change. I am in full bartender mode. I actually used to be a bartender. That's how I paid for college. That's a lie. I'll never be able to pay for college because the higher ed system in the United States of America is fucked. Anyhow, moving on. My first selection is the 36th Chamber of Shaolin. This is a favorite of ours, predominantly because it is a repository for Gordon Liu to show just how badass he is and an avenue to explore all of his kung fu mastery in a good 2 hours. It's also a really great tale of perseverance and how if you just kind of stick with something and be repetitive and respectful and do things over and over and over. There's that adage about putting in like 1,000,000 hours to be a master at something. This movie is the prime example of that. The dude goes through these chambers in the monastery faster than anyone that ever came before him, and it still takes him like half a decade to do it. So I was inspired by a couple of chambers in this movie, particularly the 5th and the 35th. What I'm gonna do is make a variation of a cocktail that we found at a local haunt called the Blind Rabbit. And the cocktail is the Smoke on the Water. So this is for all you Scotch fans. We're gonna start with one of the smokiest of the smokies. We're gonna go with Laphroaig. You can use any Islay Scotch, Talisker, Ardbeg. I prefer the Laphroaig, but that's just my own personal preference.
Hello.
So we need 2 ounces of this bad boy. Bap. Next, because of monks, right? We're gonna rock some Benedictine. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this, probably about an ounce or so. Yeah. Next, we're gonna add a little bit of Sweet Vermouth. I usually go with like something like an Antica, but I picked this up the other day and I'm a big fan. So we're gonna throw that in there. And I think I'm gonna do about 3/4 ounce. That was a little more like an ounce. We're also gonna give it a couple of laps of 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 or 5 dashes of Angostura Bitters. This is some good stuff. It's gonna bitterize it. Then we're gonna give this an Absinthe Rinse. So where's my Pernod? You don't want a lot of this stuff because it's pretty overpowering. We're basically just coating the glass with it. So you get a nice like pungent effervescence there. You would just kind of throw this away after you rinse it, but it's 5 o'clock. And because I want my alcohol not diluted at all, I'm gonna add this bad boy that's been hanging out in the freezer for a long time. Normally I'd take like a big old ball of ice and throw that in there, but I don't have that. So this will work just fine. It's okay. Pour that over here. Lastly, if you wanna be super cool about it, you can light a cinnamon stick on fire. So this is what I was talking about, the inspiration with the other chambers. You got the 5th chamber where he's training his eyeballs and he's got 2 big old sticks of incense next to him. And if he turns his head, then he gets burned pretty badly. And then the 35th chamber where you gotta jump on a bunch of logs in order to maintain balance and light-footedness. So you throw that on top of that, give it a little waft. Oh, it smells so good. I like this. Oh, here we go. I hope I didn't screw this up. Oh yeah, you wanna try?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Keep an eye on that cinnamon stick. Don't set off your smoke alarm. And there you have it, Smoke on the Water in celebration of the 36th Chamber of Shaolin. Oh no. Oh no, I failed the 35th chamber.
My next selection is Fearless Hyena from 1979, starring and directed by Jackie Chan. And I love Jackie Chan. This was kind of a hidden gem for us. Had no idea it existed, but so many other films pay homage to this film, especially a scene with like a chopstick duel, which specifically is referenced in Kung Fu Panda.
You are free to eat. Am I? Are you?
This film, the first part of it is basically just a bunch of fight scenes, and there's not really any plot. There's just kind of a lot of kind of funny silly, goofy fights. And then halfway through, it completely switches gears when Jackie Chan's grandfather is killed and he has to learn this new kung fu from this man named the Unicorn to seek revenge, basically. And the thing he learns is emotional kung fu, where he uses things like sadness and joy and delight and anger as kung fu weapons, basically. And the last scene is just amazing to watch. So I chose to pair this with a cocktail that to me brings up emotional memories. When I lived in Portland, Oregon, I worked at a restaurant called Smallwares, and this was one of the cocktails we made there. At Smallwares, we called it the Sake. I'm gonna be calling it the Emotional Negroni to pay homage to Fearless Hyena. To make this cocktail, you're gonna need a Nigori Sake, so that's the cloudy chilled sake, and then you're gonna need Aperol and Sweet Vermouth. I just got one of the small bottles of the Sayuri sake you don't wanna shake these bottles to properly get the right consistency. You wanna turn it end over end. I will tell you exactly why, but this is just how I was taught to do it. Once you see that all of the sediment in the bottom is no longer present, you're okay to use that. And make sure it's chilled also. So you're gonna need some ice and 1.5 ounces of the Sayuri. And then have Aperol. You can also use Campari if you can't find Aperol. And you're gonna want 1 ounce of the Aperol. The recipe calls for 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. I usually tend to use 3/4 ounces instead of 1 ounce, but it's up to you. I would just gauge your tastes. And then strain it into a coupe glass. You can serve it just like this, or you can add a little slice of lemon. I'm really horrible at slicing citrus. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this cocktail.
Oh, that's
You
very.
good?
Oh, that's very good.
This is very good.
Yeah, big fan.
But here you have the Emotional Negroni. And I love it because it is sweet, but also bitter. And I love bitter cocktails.
My second selection is Wheels on Meals, written by Edward Tang and Johnny Lee, directed by the great Sammo Hung. This film stars the three dragons, Yuen Biao, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, at their most dragony. Also featuring Benny the Jet Urquidez in one of the coolest fights of modern Kung Fu history. The plot's pretty simple. Jackie and Yuen own a food truck. They run into this woman, Sylvia. She's the heir to this sizable inheritance. She winds up getting kidnapped. So they team up with a PI, Sammo, to help her out. What ensues are some pretty awesome acrobatics and some kick-ass kung fu-ery. So there isn't a cocktail called the Three Dragons, and if there was, it probably wouldn't be that great because a dragon cocktail is just like vodka and ginger. Because these dudes make me feel all sorts of warm and fuzzy whenever I see them on screen, I thought I'd make an Old Pal. Old Pal is just a variation of a Boulevardier, which is just a variation of a Negroni. But I think I'm gonna do something special for this one where I'll assign 3 different types of whiskey for each of the dragons. So this is gonna be some powerful stuff. But I'm gonna start with the stuff that isn't as high in alcohol content. So I'm gonna throw in about an ounce of Antica, an ounce of Aperol. And now comes the fun part. I want to assign a whiskey for each member of the Three Dragons. So I'm going to start with Yuen. And the thing that I really appreciate about that dude is he is insanely acrobatic. So I kind of want something a little, maybe something a little spicy. Got a little kick. It kind of dances around my tongue. Ah! This is a Willet Pot Still Rye. I'm just gonna do about 3/4 of an ounce of this one. There you go. I didn't have anything that was a little tiger related, so This'll do. Now for Samo, I want something a little rounder, a little full-bodied, something. This is one of our new favorites. It's new riff. It's got no business being this good for the price point. So just about 3/4 ounce pour for that. Lastly, my boy Jackie Chan. I think I want, I'm gonna kick this up. What is the highest proof bourbon that we have right now? We got 120 horsepower. We got 123 horsepower. Stag is at 128.4. We're getting there. Boom. 136.8 horsepower. Let's go. Do a 3/4 ounce pour of this guy. Woo. Get some ice in there. This was always the most annoying part, bartending. Oh, there we go. I like my Pals with a little bit of lemon. And because I am ever a fan of theatrics. That was kind of weak. That goes in there, and this goes in your mouth. I hope that's worthy of the 3 dragons. It's pretty good. You want to taste?
I'm scared.
She's scared. It's not as strong as I thought it would be with this bad boy. Although I imagine if you would have a couple of those, you'd be
Be out pretty fast.
off your ass rather quickly. There we go. The Old Pal for 3 of my old pals.
Do you have any traditions that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, anything that you do year in and year out that may be a little bit arcane, esoteric, something that you want to share.
Or do you have some favorite cocktails you'd like to suggest to us? We're always on the lookout.
Let's swap recipes.
Yes.
If you're not following us on Instagram, go ahead and go to
Down here,
Yeah.
subscribe to our channel, and if you'd like to know the recipes for these cocktails, they'll also be down in the description below.
We're also looking for some Kung Fu recommendations. Anything you got?
Always. All right, we'll see you next time.
Laters.
Bye.
Now we gotta drink all of these.
I know.
I'm canceling plans tomorrow.
It's okay, it's the weekend. We're adults.
Oh.